if we learn a little bit more information, we can better guide how development occurs in a big city like Atlanta for not only king snakes, but a lot of other wildlife.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Nature with Gabe, the channel that connects you to nature and incredible people like Brian Hudson, who's going to be joining us today to share a little bit about his study of the eastern king snake here in the Atlanta area of Georgia.
Hey guys, my name is Brian Hudson. I work out of the Barrett Lab at Clemson University, and I work on some ecosystem restoration questions and sort of some urban habitat questions with wildlife populations. So Urban Kings, a citizen science project, is something that was launched in 2019 to better connect A, communities across the Atlanta, Georgia area, and B, the need for having wildlife research in an urban landscape. And the idea there is if you link community interest with applied research, that maybe we can better address how we develop new areas in the future. And Atlanta is a good city to do this with because it is so large in its footprint and it's sprawling so quickly, unlike other really well-developed cities in the north, for example, continental US, where they don't have a lot of land to grow. Atlanta has plenty of room to grow, and so we need to understand how wildlife responds to that type of growth. And Urban Kings is using the eastern king snake, a completely harmless and pretty loved snake across the city, to start to address some of these questions of what do they need in terms of habitat, what do they need in terms of space, and then how can people that live around Metro Atlanta, how can they get involved in research to help wildlife in their own backyard? And I'd say that's really one thing that the project is seeking to do, is simply to say, if you see a king snake in your yard, it's there for a reason, please don't kill them, and then report it, because that information is really critical to how we build these models to decide where corridors for wildlife may be and where in the future development should avoid or guide towards, for that matter, in terms of wildlife being able to move around. For our study animal, the eastern king snake, sometimes called a chain king snake, is that you want to look for two colors, and that's going to be black, a very glossy black, and then a yellow color, which is sometimes kind of a creamy yellow-white. And king snakes are almost always going to have a chain-like yellow pattern from the side, or sometimes it looks like yellow rings from the top, and that will go all the way down the length of the snake. This particular individual has a very broken chain pattern, which seems to be typical of the king snakes across Metro Atlanta. But don't let that fool you, because sometimes those rings are complete, and sometimes they're just a series of yellow speckles on that black pattern. But if you're in the Metro Atlanta region and you see a snake that's black and it has yellow in some sort of pattern all the way down the length of the snake, whether it's in freckles or chains or rings, most likely that is a king snake. The other thing that's unique is if you look at the belly, and this guy's moving pretty fast, you'll also very often see a lot of that yellow mixed in. That's very characteristic of these king snakes that will be in this region. If you do see a king snake in your backyard, the best way to contribute is to try to take a picture of it. They are fast, so maybe pull your cell phone out, get a picture of it, and then if you can, contact us through either Facebook, or you can call us directly, or by email to report your sighting. And please note the time of day you saw it, the exact location that you saw it, and then if you were able to get a picture, please include that. And we are trying to respond to as many of these calls as possible before the snake gets away. And what that does is it allows us to take some samples. We take a disease sample. It's a non-invasive fungal swab of the snake. We also take a genetic sample, which is equivalent to clipping your fingernail, doesn't hurt the animal at all. And we just release the snake exactly where it comes from, because we don't want to remove or relocate any of these animals. They're very happy right there in your backyard, so please admire them and report them, and see how you too can become involved with Urban Kings. So I think it's really fascinating to note that since we started in approximately March of 2019, we're seeing king snakes occupy areas really across our study region, so across those 5 metro counties. And these are everything from big blocks of protected forest land all the way to highly developed subdivisions where there may be one tiny green strip. And not only are we seeing these snakes all across those areas, but we're seeing different age classes of these snakes. And that means everything from new hatchlings to very, very old, beat up individuals. And that's a good sign. That's good preliminary data to suggest that these snakes are urban adapters and they can handle certain pressures up to a threshold in a big city like Atlanta. And so we're excited to announce that king snakes can adapt, and hopefully if we learn a little bit more information, we can better guide how development occurs in a big city like Atlanta for not only king snakes, but a lot of other wildlife. And that's really the goal, is to extrapolate this data up and think about things like deer and coyotes and bobcats, even squirrels and songbirds. So the king snake is just one piece in a big puzzle of the urban system. And that's why we hope that people across Metro Atlanta will report their sightings.
Brian, thank you so much for sharing with us a little bit about the Urban Kings Project and how you're using community science to engage so many people in learning about the eastern king snake in their own backyard. Now, if you're watching this video and you want to learn more, I'm going to post some resources or links to the Urban Kings Project down below, so you can check those out to learn more about the project and maybe how you can get involved. The urban wildlife interface is just filled with so many interesting questions about how humans and wildlife come together and, how we're affecting one another and how we can coexist. So I'd encourage you to think about, the wildlife that's in your backyard and ask questions about how you're affecting the wildlife and how the wildlife might be affecting you. Anyway, that's all for today. Until next time, remember, nature is powerful and so are you. Have a great day.